Well, hello. A very warm welcome to the Barstow's Inquiry. It's Sunday sermon time. It's the fun part of the week. This is where we moan, groan, talk waffle, absolute rubbish, really. And joining me, as always, to go through this show are my two favourite people on the planet, barring my good old wife, who's the producer, is John and Chris. Good evening, chaps.
Good evening.
Evening, everyone.
Yeah. Are we ready for this? Because I think we've got a crackerjack of a show, some good questions, and some good serious topics to go through as well. Right, John, before we go any further, let's discuss. Do you want to discuss the Surrey National?
About as much as I want to get buggered by a rhino.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, bye for now and join Ed. Yes, £37 a month. Great.
Get your money out,
service.
tight bastards. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Right, so we'll come on to the one race that I think's worth. Well, no, there's a couple in there. There's a couple. There's one in Ireland that we'll touch on first. We can make it public now because we've put the bet out. You're very keen on Statler for the Grand National, John. So I'm busting to hear your thoughts. And you mentioned it 100 to 1 for our loyal subscribers. Can you elaborate on what you thought today on the performance of Allaho and Statler with regards to the spring festivals?
Well, not to put too fine a point on it, I was highly delighted with the run today. I thought he showed enough toe to suggest whoever rides him at Liverpool be put him wherever they want in the race. His jumping was pretty damn slick. I don't think, touch wood, I don't think the national fences will be any sort of issue. And I'm liking this prep that he's having over 2.5, because he's not having a race where he's having his guts riven out and finishing a race empty over 3.5 on shite ground over there. I get the impression they're being nice and careful with him. I'd love him to miss Cheltenham now and go straight there, but I thought that was an absolutely ideal run to go straight to Liverpool.
I thought your case was pretty tremendous, to be honest, regarding this horse. I mean, this is an horse that was 8 lengths behind Galloping Deschamps.
Yeah.
Like you rightly pointed out, in the National Hunt Chase, he ran all over the Gordon Elliott.
Well said.
There's nothing not to like about this horse. And the problem is now, sorry, sermon listeners, but obviously John put this out at hundreds. It is now a best price. I think you're struggling for 40s,
50,
really.
I think it's 50.
50 with Baldy. You're looking at 40s and 33s. And I reckon that's been a reaction to today's run. And like John says, this will probably get a decent weight in the National in terms of probably about 11.5-ish, 11.6 maybe. It depends on what's entered. This is a very, very live national horse, and it was a great spot, John. That's why I touched on this race. Regarding Allaho, you'd say that was another bit of a war of attrition today, but he took it well in his stride. Probably didn't have to run too much because obviously he'd got the national horse in second. Does that enhance his claims for Cheltenham, or is it just as you were, Captain Mannering?
I'd still have my doubts because I don't think he's beaten a peak form 2.5 miler there today. And he'd probably have to do that at Cheltenham. I mean, if I was in Paul Nicholls' shows, I'd run Brave Man's Game in the Ryanair.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's got a cat and else chance in the Gold Cup.
No.
And I think he might just see Allaho off over 2.5 round there. He had Allaho beat turning in, I thought, in the King George. I think a stiffer track. You'd probably just favour Brave Man's Game. But I don't think it's looking a great Ryanair.
That's a good shout, John, that. I don't think that, you know what connections are like. Everyone wants a Gold Cup winner, don't they? If you get a good national horse, you want a Gold Cup winner. But the Ryanair would be very appealing, I think, for Brave Man's Game. Thanks for that. So coming to Lingfield, where today we had the 2 miles, 6.5 furlong Fleur de Lis. And L'Homme Presse, I thought, was quite impressive. I think that's strong, reliable form, John. I know we don't have the depth of the Irish in terms of quality, in terms of Gold Cup winners. But I think Long Press, despite things not going quite right, has beaten a horse in Protectorate that's done everything right today and ran to his very, very best and stuffed it.
I'd agree, he stuffed it. I think you might have squeezed a bit more out of Protectorate if he'd been pressed a bit early on. I thought he did have a fairly easy time on the front.
Yeah.
Going past the stands the first time, Skelton took him back a bit. He was going that well, which to me might indicate he's underperforming his rating by about £5. I mean, that's neither here nor there over these sort of distances, I know, but it would still leave Long Press with a fair bit to find. You know, he'd come out at about 160 plus for that. I think he's got so much to find to win a Gold Cup myself.
Yeah, he is very likeable. I think he's a tough horse. You know, he fights.
Yeah.
When you look at the Kempton run in the King George, he was losing the argument to Brave Man's Game. So you kind of know he's level. Like you say, he's probably, would you say he's like 10 to 14 pounds short of winning a Gold Cup?
I would think so. I think he's about a 160, 165.
No, I'll go with that. But I was impressed today because he did enough wrong. The time was excellent. It was quicker than standard, 2.18 faster than standard. Everything sort of marries up to that being a good race in terms of, look at the ratings behind. I know, like, you'll say, well, I will do it once 47 miles. Does he know he's trained by Kim Bailey, who's out of form? But I just thought Protectorate did everything right today. He put him in the bin. We're talking about a Betfair Chase winner, Martel Cup winner, and he just put him in the bin. I think if you're Long Press fans, I think you could be looking at possibly Place Prospect in a Gold Cup. If you can just find that little bit more, he'd probably need to jump well, and to find probably £10 to be right in the shake up, possibly, but not win for Long Press fans today. But I like the horse. He's tough as teak. It's great. It's a great sight watching them.
I think if you fancy backing him for the Gold Cup, I think you might as well, because I can't think of anywhere else that can go with him.
You've got to say that's the aim, haven't you? Why wouldn't you? You'd be a fool to say that's not the next plot.
For me, that's got to be his next run.
I mean, looking at the Gold Cup betting, they've got him in at 12 to 1, John. I think that's probably short enough. I think if you look at the runners at the front of the market, Galloping Deschamps, Fast or Slow, they would probably have 10 to 12 pounds on him, I would say.
You'd reckon, yeah. Yeah, 12 is probably about right.
Yeah, so we're not punters at that price, but John is certainly a punter of Statler for the National, and hopefully that will get us in kudos, John, come the springtime. Looking forward to it. Right, that covers the review. Not really much else to say this weekend on the racing front. Obviously, we had Leafy, decent flat card, but no one wants to know about that, really. So we're going to move on to topics of the show. And the title of this show, I think, is Racing a Quango of Quango. I mean, this is it, really, isn't it? It's like a web of bad people.
Cat's cradle.
Yeah, it's really bad. When I talk about Quangos, we've talked about various bodies running the sport. We talked about Cruddas last week of ARC. We've talked about Julie Harrington at the BHA. We've talked about Joe Suarez Smith and his slot interests as chairman of the BHA. There's a lot of sort of like, the Gambling Commission with all their
nest featherers. That's what they are.
Nest feathering. What's the word? They've got one.
I think it's a bit of a shame bracketing Cruddas with all them, because I still think Cruddas is a very effective operator. I think
he is.
Yes, clever guy.
He is a very, very good businessman. Is Cruddas?
Yes.
No one can deny that. He knows what he's doing. ARC are thriving. But that's not.
I mean, just because he's doing what doesn't suit us. I don't.
I know what you say. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think he deserves to be bracketed with the lunatics that are supposed to be on our side.
No, quite.
That's a good point, John. It's a good point, John. And so coming on to Quango of Quangos, the next Quango is the Betting and Gaming Council that supposedly represents punters, the industry, the whole goddamn shebang, really. It seems to be one big jolly up. I refer to some of their recent tweets, one of which was one problem gambler is one too many.
Ooh, that's deep, isn't it?
Well,
Fucking hell.
right.
Where'd they come up with that from?
That's one of the statements, and
Yeah.
you've got to question that because the cost benefit analysis of everything in life. And I know this sounds really horrible, but like
No.
when people are on like stage 3 and stage 4 cancer treatment,
Yeah.
decisions are made by doctors if it's economically viable for them to
Yeah.
continue with any further treatment in terms of your chance of survival. And it's an uncomfortable conversation for some, but this is my
Yeah.
point. In racing, why have we never had this conversation? Why is it just a blanket, oh, well, they committed suicide because they've blown all the fortunes and this, that, and the other. But
Yeah.
how many haven't? And what is
Yeah.
the risk, the impact assessment on that? And this is the annoying thing in terms of the BGC, because if I list something now, you'll find this quite amusing. So we listed the Gambling Commission directors in terms of what they represent, i.e. gambling harm groups, right? So you've got the BGC. Here we go. Get ready for this. It's good. Simon Betterley, Corporate Affair Officer for Bet365. Adam Brickle, Betfair, Sky Bet, Flutter, Corporate, right? Elizabeth Hurst, Ladbrokes, Coral, Entain.
There's a pattern here, isn't there?
Philip Walker, William Hill, 888, right? So basically,
666.
so who are they representing? All their speech, and I pulled up a tweet. If you remember, I tweeted earlier in the week regarding they tweeted that punters have spoken en masse that they require frictionless affordability checks. They need to be frictionless. Punters have never said that. 100,000 on the petition have said we don't want them.
No, but that isn't that like people say? Everyone says that they'd rather be murdered by being shot than being hacked to death with an axe. That's the same kind of logic, isn't it? The assumption is, we'd all like to get murdered, but we're coming out strongly in favour of getting shot in the head rather than being hacked to death. No one has said that they want, checks of any description, that frictionless or otherwise. We just don't want anything.
Yeah,
But see how they spin it. That's the thing. That's the trick. They spin things.
Yeah, it's words. It's trickery. We're ruled by words and numbers. We're ruled by numbers and silly numbers. And people read into silly numbers and can't interpret them and think, oh, yeah, that's terrible. 4% commit suicide. No, they don't. It's false. All the numbers.
So you're going into an Apache chant there.
The Comanche audience will love this, I tell you.
Yeah. Washington Nationals, remember, folks.
Yeah, oh Christ, you're not there. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for reminding me. Yes.
No more Redskins there.
No, absolutely not.
So what I'm saying about the BGC anyway is that they are wholly representing, or the mouthpiece, in my opinion, of Big Corp, and that's it. The middle guys, in fact, if the middle guys like say Ben Keefe, Jeff Banks, if they are paying money to the BGC, they're idiots because they just favour Big Corp, and Big Corp are just phasing out the middle books, as we know. That's the plan, to get rid of them. There's no way like the likes of Ben Keefe, Jeff Banks can sustain fines from the Gambling Commission on lack of affordability and social responsibility. That's why Jeff Banks got rid of his online casino, because he didn't want the hassle of the GC knocking on the old door. Ben Keith had a fine this year for 600,000. How many of them can he take before he, if they come again for him, that's it. Bye, Ben. It's like, oh, Ben, you've got to pay 3 million because you didn't check this guy's account or this guy's account. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely mental. And the BGC are doing nothing other than spouting lies and not representing the industry other than Big Corp. And this is the problem we're in. We've got Gambling Commission, we've got the BHA, we've got the BGC, we've got Martin Cruddas at ARC, right? They've all got their own vested interests, but none of it is for racing, chaps.
No. That is a big problem, but racing's completely silent on the makeup of these Quangos, isn't it? You wouldn't have Julie Harrington calling that out like you just have.
John, what if you were king for a day? You got brought into the BHA and said, right, John, you can do anything you like for one day within reason.
Well, that's stymied him now, isn't it? Within reason.
Why have I got this picture image of like a Marilyn Manson video?
Fucking Charles Manson, more like.
One day, can John come up with something that if you could just do one thing, John, what would you do? You might have said it on previous shows, but what would you do? One thing.
One thing, I'd launch racing's own exchange.
Yeah. And we know that's fantasy. James Knight's told me, put me straight in my basket and said, it is fantasy.
Counter narrative, isn't it? You know, it disrupts the status quo, and it's, you know, big corporate interests are served by maintaining this current, you know, direction of travel. So of course it's fantasy.
Half of me wants me to be like a billionaire. This is fantasy.
Yeah.
And if I was a billionaire, you know, like the Saudis have just like fuck like golf up, like for the foreseeable. I'd love to just for shits and giggles come in and just do exactly that. And set at BHA, you're not running sport now, I am.
They're not running the sport anyway, so you just say, actually, were.
And just set up an exchange and own tote. And Gambling Commission can literally find me what they want. I'm not bothered. I've got millions. I don't care. Yeah, fuck off. I'd just run exchange and tote for racing and run prize money that way. Like John says, when all the contracts are up for renewal, in terms of for tracks and fixture lists, I just nothing. No, you get nothing. That's how you do it from scratch. So that's my fantasy land. Could you make that happen if you were a billionaire, do you think?
Of course you can. You do anything if you're a billionaire, can't you? Really? They say you can't. Oh, well, no, you're still constrained by the laws of the land, but are you fuck?
Maybe we should tweet Musk and say what he can do.
Do you know, we've got a better chance, like twanging Magnier's bollocks and say, come on, old man John, you're fucked now. Fuck Culmore. Let's get the show on the road. Let's revive the game.
It might appeal to him, you know. He'd be up there with Admiral Rouse then, wouldn't he?
Yeah. More crooked heats. That's what we want. Yeah, don't worry. We'll set as many up as you want.
Oh, by the way, the other thing was it the Racehorse Owners Group or Association that said this week about they want runners coming into the paddock in race card order.
Oh, Jesus.
Big issue.
John, how does that work with unruly 2-year-olds?
It doesn't work, full stop. I mean, these people are lunatics.
So what happens if, like, you know, like basically like colts and fillies following them around the paddock? They've no idea, have they?
Just don't. You know what I mean? Just don't.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And yet, on this show, we have championed outriders.
Yeah.
By the way, he did mention race times. He said, we need to sort the race times out. It's terrible, all these late races, right? Mm-hmm. I've said this time and time again. Most time delays are caused by two things. They're either spread plates, right, where a horse has to be reshod, or it's a horse that's got loose. The spread plate thing is a different argument because you could basically say, right, if you spread a plate at the start, you either run with no shoe or you don't run. It's just, if you can't employ a good farrier, well, fuck you. You know, that's it. Stop employing cheap farriers, the shit. It never happens with Culmore horses. How many times do you see a Culmore horse having to be reshod?
Very, very rarely.
You know,
very.
So they're employing cheap farriers to do shit jobs. And I'm sorry, but, you know.
They take them to Timpson's, don't they? Have them fucking nailed on at Timpson's in the old Tesco.
With the money the tracks are making from the media rights deal now, it's time to get more stalls handlers to get them in quicker, and it's time for an outrider to provide jobs and economy for local people.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
And improve safety for the sport. In other words, you're not getting a horse smash through barriers and smash into people waving jackets to stop. Oh, stop, horse. You know,
rubbish, isn't it? It's rubbish. But of course, if they did go down that route, it would have to be preceded by a lengthy and expensive review that would require 15 full-time staff to travel around the country on expenses before concluding it's a good idea. So that's how these things work.
And the meals at High Holborn, John.
Yeah.
They're like a Chinese, apparently, down there. They're expensive, yeah.
Weekly briefings at Le Manuel Cat Saison. Our usual table, Raymond, please. Send this out.
Absolutely.
You can see.
Probably have those flown in from Dow Plong or something.
Yeah, coolies coming in hand grain at a time.
Yeah, and Salt Bay chucking on gold dust.
Yeah,
Gold.
more gold on this table. Don't be stingy with the gold leaf. We want it an inch thick on our steaks. Yeah.
Indeed. Right. And so moving on then, bookies sponsoring jockeys and trainers. And of course, the news is obviously Alice Haynes recently sponsored by Coral. What are we saying on this? There's lots of comment on this regarding it's wrong. How is this right? Why are bookies sponsoring trainers and jockeys? Can anyone tell me?
Oh, wonder why.
Well,
What do you think they're getting information, Chris?
Oh, of course they are. Of course they're getting their cards marked. They say, "Oh no, it's it's for the PR value, etc." Really, come on. They're getting the cards marked. I'm not saying they're doing a huge amount with you. I'm not saying it's a corrupt relationship where they're influencing the outcome, but they're getting cards marked, aren't they? Of course they are.
there's no upside for racing, though, is there?
No,
because you've got Joe Soap there. He's waiting on the last leg of his lucky 31, and he's had it with Corals, and Alice Haynes trains it, and then it gets beat.
Yeah.
How does Joe fail?
Yeah, the optics are terrible. That's the phrase, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether or not there is any suggestion of wrongdoing, probably not. But certainly not. But it looks terrible, doesn't it?
I think that's it.
Leaves it open to all sorts of accusations.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just not a good look, but I mean, look, that's the way of the world, isn't it? That's what they want to do.
Why are bookmakers sponsoring sort of trainers, jockeys, media? They've literally got everyone. In fact,
except us. We're fucking open for it. Come on, get your money out.
No.
We're cheap. We'll do it for fucking bit of Battenberg and a cup of tea.
No, never.
No,
I would take a beam off these dirty people.
2 bits of Battenberg.
Yeah,
come on.
It's just a no. You cannot sell out to these people.
No, you can't. Because, I suppose, look at logically, they'll sponsor yards and jockeys to get lots of visibility. But, it does make me wonder, how much more do they need? They've got every aspect of the sport sewn up. What possible benefit can there be for Coral to sponsor Alice Haynes? I mean, she's a good trainer, but not one of the high profile ones, is she? So what's the utility value of that decision? I just don't know.
Well, I mean, she gets ammo horses.
She does, but look, I mean, what's the advantage for Coral? I don't know. I'm sure it's been properly costed, but it just seems to be, if it moves, sponsor it.
John, why do you think they go after all the media, all the trainers and jockeys? What's it all about? Is it a tax write-off?
I honestly don't know. I mean, it just baffles me, really. I'm not used to trainers that caught these situations, and I don't see a daily benefit apart from the kind from the sponsorship, really.
Yeah, why haven't they contacted Anthony Britton?
Well,
but we get Monda Medge updates. We'll get all sorts. Tath Mean on his 124th start. This could be good. I mean, if they go in touch with Anthony Britton, no.
It's the profile. It's the profile, isn't it, of Alice Haynes? She's new, as you say, Lee. She gets at the ammo horses. Her sort of the trajectory is very much in an upward direction. So I guess that's what they're going to do.
I'd be interested. I mean, I know Charlie Sutton, racing managers, sort of got in touch with me before about things I've said on the pod before. Maybe Charlie Sutton will come on by DM and tell me what's the story behind Coral sponsoring the yard. And do Coral ask for tips and info on the yard? Come on, Charlie Sutton, tell me the answer. Right. Anyway, moving on. We've got your fabulous questions coming up, of course. There's some really good ones, serious ones, funny ones. So we'll start with a serious one before we go on to the funnies. Davis has been on. Good old Nick Davis, our flat contributor for Bar Stewart's Edge, an all-round West Ham fan that walks around London with a Stanley knife. He said, given that media rights mean so much to ARC, and they profess still to be fans of the sport, why don't they give free entry to racegoers? John?
Because Martin Cruddas is an excellent businessman and he doesn't give anything away when he doesn't have to.
He doesn't give two fucks, does Cruddas. I mean, it's one of them. you look around the world, but the problem is you've got a tote system. So, like the USA, it's like $5 to get in a race card. You get a race card, DRF form, and shit like that. It's really good for $5 because obviously it's casino funded and tote funded. The problem is when you're dealing with private corp, you're never going to get a good deal because private corp like to keep it all. Like it's just how it is. Unless you like Charlotte at Go Racing in Yorkshire, York Racecourse, they're lovely people and they offer a fantastic season ticket. So get your season ticket for Go Racing in Yorkshire. Adam Norman's got one. He's a tight cunt.
He has sandwiches in his fucking
He
socks.
He does, and he loves Go Racing in Yorkshire because he paid for himself absolutely hundreds of millions of times over when he goes paddock watching.
He ended up getting his barcode cancelled for having his sandwich in his shop, wasn't he?
Old Doncaster security will be looking out for corned beef and Piccadilly dripping out at.
You get the strip searched on his way in.
Yeah. You don't squash, right? Really squash.
Drop them boxes and bend over, son.
Yeah, lift your trousers up. I can see Piccadilly seeping out at the top of your sock.
The old dogs will be going mad for their corned beef, won't they? Never mind the cocaine. Give them the corned beef.
Indeed. Just going back to racing, John. What racing about podcast being on? He says, never mind all that on your questions. It's the Grand Military Gold Cup meeting at Sandown on Friday. A meeting for many. Surely's their annual highlight. An in-depth critique of Lieutenant Colonel Kalashnikov.
Well, I haven't watched it since Brod Munro Wilson died. That was it done for me. You know, that's the end of it.
I just enjoy watching Guy Disney go around on
Mickey Mouse.
One leg.
Yes.
He had one leg, didn't he? He had a prosthetic leg.
He did. Tremendous. Yeah, absolutely. But it's a horrible meeting now, isn't it? Too many posh people.
Yeah. I think me and John ought to go out for a dinner down there and mix with them.
No.
John.
Yes, quite. No. Yes, quite. Say you fought in the Falklands. Yeah, you fought in the Falklands. Yeah, for Argentina, that'll go down.
I'll tell you what, some of our Barsters fans would love a photo with me and John stood somewhere all colonels or Henrys down for that meeting. I think it should be done. I think it's a requirement.
We could stick a bit of cavalry twill and tweed on, couldn't we? So we blended in.
Dad's Army. There we go. Right.
Like coach, you'll be well in there, honestly.
Yeah, and John, on your questions today were quite interesting. You talked about soup.
Yeah.
Best soup.
Somebody came on Saturday and started.
It was me. He got fucking Alzheimer's, don't you remember? It was me. I said favourite soup as a suggestion.
Yeah. And,
Brown Windsor. That's mine.
What's Brown Windsor?
I don't know. It's like brown. I don't know what's in it, but it tastes quite nice.
Beef, it's like oxtail with a bit of Worcestershire sauce in.
That's right. And it's all these old con men, colonels, always have a regimental tie stained with Brown Windsor soup. If you read the books, you'll see what I mean. But that's a posh soup there. And you can get it from, I think Morrison's do it really good, like 60p a can. So give it a whirl.
Wow. I've never heard of that. I'm learning.
Brown Windsor. There you go. Add that to the list. You'll like it. If you like, as John says, oxtail, it's just got a bit more of a kick. It's very nice.
Well, regarding soups, Ellen Sheridan, fan of the show, lovely to hear from you, Helen Sheridan. She says, I've never been let down by a parsnip. Well, I fucking have, Helen, because I'd mistaken it for a roast potato, and it was most disappointing.
No, I like a parsnip.
Yeah, I like a parsnip.
Yeah, but the disappointing feeling, if
No, you're wrong. You are wrong.
No.
Honey glazed parsnips are tremendous.
Listeners will side with me on this.
No, they won't.
It's very, very disappointing. Like beef fat dripping roast potatoes, goose fat, whatever you want to do them in, right? I'm sorry, but parsnip is just bollocks.
And no, they look it's a root vegetable. It's not bollock.
They look the same. You can't. It's impersonating a roast potato.
No, they
do. They do. Put it on a plate, right? They look the same as roast potatoes.
No, they don't. And it depends how you peel and trim your potatoes. But you know, one's sort of spherical and the other one is sort of oblong. So I'm not sure how you can get confused.
Well, I do.
You're
And it's
wrong. You
full-
know,
No,
it's
no, no,
public
no.
and
Answer this on Twitter, folks. Listen, put your answers. I'm right on this. Right, parsnip disappoints roast potatoes. John, you also disagree with me, don't you? You disgrace.
Well, I'd just say like a roast parsnip appearing on the plate's never the end of the world by any stretch.
No, it isn't.
It's
You
not.
know.
It's all right, but they're not roast potatoes. Roast potatoes are the
No, but I
main.
mean, I know a fella that ate both once and he's still living.
Yeah, he had a double off.
Right, so coming back to soups then, right? So you've mentioned brown Windsor,
Yes.
which is a rather interesting suggestion. John, have you got like any like really big favourite?
Yes, I particularly like a cream of mushroom with loads of pepper.
Yeah.
But I would say my absolute favourite is a Tom Yum king prawn.
What the?
Well,
What?
what? Yeah, what you got to explain. You got to unpack that one for us.
That's
John.
kind of a spicy Chinese
It's not off
broth.
YouTube, is it? You haven't got it
No,
off
no, no, no,
YouTube.
no.
Okay,
The base is a broth made with coconut milk
right,
and chicken stock.
right.
The spice added and king prawns.
It's kind of like a Thai king of red curry, isn't it? That's the sort of.
Getting in that sort of region, yeah, and no, very very nice. Just glides down the trade. This kind of weather, anyway.
Right.
Hmm.
A bit exotic for us, isn't it, Lee? I think that.
John, where do you buy that from?
Just about every Chinese going, mate. Oodles in Middlesbrough does a especially good one.
Okay.
Right, interesting. Yeah, going. I fancied like going down the Chinese store and getting all their stuff. I know Jess has got me stuff before. I mean, curry sauce and shit like that. It's really good and cheap.
There is a book, which I may have mentioned before, and I'll post the link. There is a book, and I can't remember the name of the two. It's a recipe book that allows you to recreate exactly the way.
Zing and Zang, something, isn't it?
No, it's very similar for our Chinese listeners. We apologise for that, but yeah, it allows you to create, and it's absolutely bang on. I mean, it's a lot of faff. I mean, the numerous processes in the sort of food you get from the Chinese, but it's bang on. So I'll post the link. It's worth a look. I think you can get Amazon about £4. But if you want it absolutely spot on what you get from the Chinese, this book tells you what to get and how to do it.
Right, before we go on to more funny questions, just change the tack again. We go from good cop to bad cop, and like this is why everyone gets depressed. Go to a serious topic. Timing, but Julie Harrington said we're sorry as BHA vows to attack bullying and sexual misconduct in racing. Now, I think the Bryony thing that got traction from the Times, which I was quite annoyed about, not because it wasn't like correct in parts, in that Robbie Dunn got punished. I just felt they fudged the figures like they do with a lot of things to get the point across, and rightfully I've pointed that out. But there is a serious thing in racing regarding misconduct, especially towards female staff, in terms of assaults, rapes, and attempted rapes. I mean, we've heard of trainers suspended because of these allegations. These allegations haven't been listed, but obviously the rumour mill does the rounds. The BHA chief, Julie Harrington, has said sorry, but my point is that, and I said this to Carl Hinchy, the owner of some nice horses, Fugitive, etc. I said to him this morning on Twitter that why do we think it's a racing problem? Is it not a societal problem?
I'm sure it is.
It's as if like, oh, well, in racing, we've got to do more.
None of these are disagreements over racing technique or technical racing issues, are there? You know, I mean, it all stems to societal issues. You know, I mean, nothing that's reported could be isolated as exclusive to racing, could it?
No. Does racing have a problem with its culture in terms of, right, we still live in the 90s, obviously.
Fucking 1890s.
1790s.
That is an actual thing, isn't it? You can imagine that female stable staff, I mean, it does happen. I mean,
But I think Carl Hitchy made a good point, unless I completely misread it, which is that, he takes a view to why do we need to produce a kind of a code of conduct for people in the sport. Surely, the values that the normal values that society, recognizes and expects. You shouldn't need to tell people. Make sure you don't rape anyone at work today. Okay, I promise. It's mad. The fact that you need to be thinking about having a code of conduct tells you have a problem. You shouldn't need to tell people that. Not adults. Absolutely not. So I think he's got a good point there, because that's worrying. And I do think, because racing, it is a feudal organisation. It's a feudal society where the people in charge are pulled from a very, very narrow slice of society, and that slice of society has shared norms and values which aren't always in step with what the real world is all about. So I do think it's got a problem culturally, not at kind of the groom level, but at sort of assistant trainer owner level, and the people that kind of keep the sport running come from a very narrow slice of society.
It's a fair point. So what you're saying is it's the country bumpkins, Chris.
Well, yeah, partly, yeah. People in rural communities. Oh, Christ, we're going down like Fred West now, aren't we? But what I'm saying is, it's a certain socio-economic class that own stables, that own racehorses, that grow up look, if I said to you, I grew up amongst horses and event ponies, you're going to conclude that I'm probably at worst from an upper middle class background. You're not going to conclude, hey, Chris grew up on the 19th floor of the Steve Biko estate in Peckham. You're not going to say that. You're not going to think that. So it is a socio-economic class that horsey people tend to come from, and they will have their own norms and values, which may not always be in concert with wider society.
John.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on it, please.
I think the big problem racing's got for me is the class system. Because there are so many jobs that go up for grabs in racing, where if you don't have the right background, you might as well not apply. You'd be the best qualified person in the world, and it wouldn't matter. Funny handshake cronyism that prevails.
Freemasons.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Freemason. I got fuck all out of it. So that's why I dropped out 5 years ago. So that's the
Freemason dropout there, you.
Get off YouTube, mate. We're not all Satan worshipping, shape shifting lizards.
Yeah, I am.
A lot of that stems from racing being allowed to do what it wants. The Jockey Club has a royal charter that should have been removed 40 years ago.
Good point. That
because that precludes them from having to do everything like what we'd say the right way.
No audit trail, no accountability.
Yeah, there's nobody checking up that they're following employment law, having a wide enough spread of candidates for jobs, things like that. Nobody checks up on that because they've got a royal charter. For a start, that's going to make them feel special, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a topic really that probably deserves more traction, but I get annoyed when mainstream tabloids use the Bryony example, because whilst it was a high-profile case, it's been done and dusted. There's nothing really else to add on it. There's no stats to say she's been hard done by since. It's rubbish. People that say that is complete rubbish. There's lots of girls thriving in the sport. Someone said tonight, oh, what about girls in jump racing? Well, yeah, you're getting Tabitha Worsley, you're getting Alice Stevens getting lots of rides. Charlotte Jones has moaned a bit, but I'm a bit annoyed at Charlotte Jones in a way, because she's supported well by Dudley Moffat, who basically it's number one job. You've got a nice job there. I don't understand, right? She's saying, I don't get outside rides. How hard is she looking for outside rides? She hasn't suggested that she has. And the problem is, as we've always said, yards have their own riders. Is she going around riding for yards and riding work in the morning? Is she schooling horses for other yards? There's not a phone call coming. Oh, Charlotte, will you ride this? Never sat on it. Never offered to come down and ride for other train. You don't know the ins and outs.
Let's be fair as well. If a lass rides a couple of winners and they're on the telly, they get far more of a big up than any young lad does.
Absolutely. 100%. And you've only seen that with ITV. So when people say it's like discrimination against Bryony has the biggest ITV rave up every time she rides a TV winner. In fact, if Il Radurto had have held on, we'd have had 20 minutes of it. You know, it's that's how it is.
I think they'd have brought in a Ride of the Season competition then.
Yeah, they would, because it was a tremendous ride.
Yeah.
It was
she's a bad
ride.
example, isn't she, to illustrate whatever point they want to make. She's not a good example, but you know, I do think there is a problem, but I think that problem is sort of further down the pecking order at sort of, you know, groom or stable staff level, because I'm sure, you know, my sense is that the culture of many racing yards does not encourage people to, you know, call out bad behaviour. I mean, I've seen it myself, albeit a few years ago. So my sense is there is a problem, but it's, you know, far away from you know, the media coverage and the TV coverage.
It is. Yeah, more needs to be done on that subject. Good purse by Carlincha, really, to raise this, and people should be talking about it. And certainly, if you are listening to this podcast and you've suffered harassment, or get in touch with us, we'll raise it. We'll down them. We'll down the fuckers, because we don't answer to no one. If you want anyone, get in touch with the authorities. Just do the right thing, but don't suffer. Certainly, if you do listen to this podcast and you have suffered any kind
you
of
suffer an hour every week listening to this crap.
Absolute shite, indeed. If you
just remember this: if you are being bullied in the workplace in racing, none of them carry guns. They're not going to shoot you. Call them out.
Yeah.
The only person that carries guns is John, who shoots pigs, and that's it. And he only shoots pigs because he wants to eat them. So it's fair enough, and it's
never shoot anything I don't eat.
Exactly. Catch. What is it? Kill, catch, clean, cook, whatever. Yeah, the YouTube videos. Yeah.
Chinese.
Yeah.
Back to him again. He'd be a good sponsor. He wouldn't know what the fuck we're on about. Just send us some money every month.
He would, yeah. The ostrich video is worth watching for Uncle Roll Gourmet.
And the giant rabbit one's good as well.
Yeah, the giant rabbit one. Anyway, moving on. Right,
you can never have so many rabbits twatted over the head with a flat side of the meat, can you?
Kent Choppers mentioned Thommo, and I don't know why, but yeah, we have to talk about Thommo. Thommo's recently got a sponsor like a football player, where it says on the side of his car, Acklam Cars sponsored Derek Thompson, with an horse on it. Honestly, I kid you not.
You've got to give it to him, haven't you? I mean, he does not give two shits.
Can't even say what I've heard about Acklam Cars.
Thommo is has got to be. He's a legend. This guy has made a living from, I don't know, every commentary, it's just weird how he's still employed. There was a race the other night. I think it was at Wolverhampton. He ended up at Wolverhampton somehow. He couldn't call the third place that was a length and a half clear of the fourth, and he said, I'll leave the third to the judge. I mean, the guy's legendary. He never misses a dance. And by the way, everything's a fee. But the question is, and I want to ask you two, right? Because Thommo is a shit commentator. He's shit. He's absolutely shit. Even though he's you could call him a legend of the game because he's been around longer than anyone in the game. But he lives in Scotland. The guy drives.
Really?
Yeah. The guy drives to Wolverhampton, faking them for gigs. What is all this about? I don't understand it.
Work ethic. We could learn a lot from him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm there. He's in his car driving up, and someone else is paying for his car. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'd ginger if I have to spend an hour in car.
I don't know any other commentator. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong. Catamol, anyone else that's commentators in the UK that would drive a sponsored car saying Acklam Cars sponsor Derek Thompson. The guy's unbelievable. I mean,
he'd take sponsorship from Hitler, wouldn't he? If Hitler said, "I'll pay you I'll pay you a £5 a mile more," I'm there. Adolf sponsors me. He would.
Is there a fee, gentlemen? Oh, lovely, lovely. Yeah. So Thommo, one of the. Did we vote him as the biggest takeout merchant recently? I think.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I think so. Claude Duval's good though.
Claude.
Yeah, I love Clod. I always will love Clod. Turned up for every buffer, every single one.
He had the best Twitter account ever, Claude.
More funny questions then, just to finish the show. Yes, this is the last one actually. It's from Samuel the Cat. Bar stewards, people have been given a wish by a genie they can create this guy's weird. Can create an intimate dream dinner party. They are allowed to invite 3 famous people. They could be dead or alive. Who would they be? And have you any interesting questions for them? Right, I'll kick us off.
Go on.
Right.
Jeffrey Epstein, John F. Kennedy,
Yeah.
and Adolf Hitler.
Strong
Got one of
trifecta.
them,
A strong treble, right? Because my questions would be to all 3. Like Jeffrey Epstein, obviously, I'd be quizzing on who a dirty bastard. Hitler, because I was more interested in the UFO that they apparently found the Nazis back then, rather than anything else. JF Kennedy, yeah. I would love to ask him about his relationship with the CIA and Marilyn Monroe.
Tell you fuck all. I'd just be getting Epstein's air miles, I reckon, out of him. Don't need him anymore.
And there'd be some points there, wouldn't there?
Fucking loads of points. 3 upgrades, first
like
class.
Brucey coming in, what a point to make.
You'd have to sit behind Thommo, though. He'd be there before you, though, wouldn't he?
Brucey on the plane with Thommo. What a point to make, Thommo. Prizes! Come on, dollies, do your dealing. That's why they're so appealing.
Dear God.
Right, John, I'm coming to yours.
Well, my first one was going to be Adolf Hitler, actually.
Yeah, so that's me and you.
He's a fan favourite, him, isn't he?
I was inviting him just really so I could say, well, what the fucking hell do you think you were going to get out of that? Maybe.
Yeah.
Because I'll say it was a bit pointless now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was more a case of, why were you such a daft cunt, really?
Why are you such a daft cunt?
Yeah. The next one would be John Lennon. And the first thing I'd ask him is, why the fuck didn't you grab all the Yoko and order it up in front of yourself?
Yeah. Absolutely right, yeah.
But I imagine there's no heaven.
Fucking right, yeah. Mark Chapman, yeah, shoot her. Take the woman.
And the last one would be Backstairs Billy. Do you remember him? The Queen Mother's faithful attendant?
Yes, I do, vaguely. Yeah.
Well, known in some circles as Backscuttle Billy. I don't know where that was. I'd get him to spill the beans on all the comings and goings at Clarence House.
More comings and goings, as I understand.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I'd be doing some serious quizzing there and finding out what the racing people have been up to when they visited the dear old Queen Mum. God bless her.
God bless her. Wonderful, fucking wonderful she was. Yeah, love her. We got fuck all, but who cares? Yeah, quite.
Lovely. Chris, finishes off.
Oh crikey! I would pick Charles Manson because I think he's just batshit crazy, just a crazy little pimp. I think he'd be really entertaining. I don't think he'd have anything useful to tell us about what happened with Sharon Tate, etc. But I think he'd be interesting. I then would also have Jimmy Savile, and I would ask that fucker why he never read out my letter from 1976 because I wanted to have a fight with Big Daddy. Right, and he never read my letter out, and I was still smarting. What was it? 40-odd years later. So
I think that's absolutely fantastic, Chris. Everything that's come out in your biggest gripe is read your fucking letter.
That's all I'm interested in. Yeah, exactly. And then the third one's a bit left field. May not be known to most listeners. I would like to invite Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, to dinner.
Oh.
I think he is a very odd character, and it would also appeal to you, Lee, because he was allegedly part of the MK Ultra programming when he was a maths professor at I think it was at Harvard, and a lot of people are attributing his odd political beliefs and bombing campaign to some quite serious mind control tactics that were used by the CIA during that period. So I'd like to speak to Kaczynski.
What would we serve up at that dinner party then? It'd have to be some of that special soup, wouldn't it?
Brown wins at Battenberg and a massive pot of tea, and I think we'd all get on.
Yeah.
Superb, gentlemen. A great show as always, and that was an absolute pleasure to do. Hope you've enjoyed it, folks. And we like cheering you up on a Sunday. We'd like to cover the serious topics, but with also a funny slant on proceedings. That's all from me, John and Chris. We're back as normal next Sunday to chew more fat. Bye for now.